Imagine this. You're scrolling through a dating app and you find yourself landing on the profile of someone who is pretty easy on the eyes and lives just a few miles away from you. You dive deeper into their account and find out that you virtually have the same interests. You both love dogs, like taking long walks in a park, and even have compatible star signs. Wow, talk about a match made in heaven. So you connect. Within minutes you find yourself conversing with them. As time passes, you get closer and closer to the person you're talking to online, and you might possibly be falling for them as well. Eventually, after a few weeks or so, you decide to meet up in person so that you can talk to each other face to face. You wash your hair, put on your coolest clothes, and even spritz some perfume on before you go out and meet this person you've grown so attached to over the past few weeks. However, when you finally do meet up and get to speak to each other, you realize that they're nothing like their online persona. What gives? Well, you, my friend, have been catfished. This is Fraud Explained. To enjoy more videos, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell, or else I'll be looking into you too. Ever since the internet was created, it has been such a wonderful place to explore. You can search for the information that you need, keep up to date with the latest news, play games, connect with friends and make new ones, buy virtually anything that you want, and so much more. However, a word to the wise, things on the internet are not always what they seem. Today I'm going to talk to you about something that people on the internet do quite often: catfishing. Now, what exactly does it mean to be catfished? No, I'm not talking about the bottom-dwelling fish. I'm talking about the term that was popularized in 2010 by the hit documentary by Henry Joost and Ariel Schulman of the same name, where they followed a young man named Nev's relationship with a woman named Megan, who he had only met using the popular social media platform Facebook. Through their constant communication on Facebook's messaging feature, Nev and Megan began a relationship, until Nev slowly discovered that Megan may not really be who she says to be. Catfishing is what happens when a person creates a fake persona on social media using another person's personal information and photographs and uses them to lure other people on the internet. The people whose information is being used usually are not aware that their names and photos are being used for catfishing. Oftentimes, catfishers use their fake personas to commit frauds or scams. These scams can go on for weeks, months, and even years. Nearly 60% of the people on dating sites have encountered at least one account posing as somebody they're not, and a good portion have actually been duped by someone using a fake account. The term catfishing gained even more popularity when MTV decided to create a show about the highs and lows of online dating. They called it, you're right, you guessed it, catfish. On the show, a person can reach out to the host to ask for help in determining the real identity of their online romance. Sometimes they see that the person is who they claim to be, but other times, some people are not so lucky. However, for some people, getting catfished becomes a death sentence. So how exactly do you spot a catfisher? You could be shown so many red flags that would indicate that you're being catfished, like fake profile photos or inconsistent information, but some people are so good at catfishing that their persona somehow becomes airtight. Keep watching until the end of the video to see the worst and most elaborate catfish schemes to ever have happened. Unfortunately, until you find sufficient proof that your online significant other is, in fact, not who they say they are, you cannot be completely sure. However, you can take some steps in order to avoid being catfished. First, always be cautious. Because the internet can disguise people's real identities, you should keep that in mind whenever you talk to someone you have not actually met in real life. Avoid giving out information that is too personal. That includes your home address, your personal phone number, where you work, and more. Keep the conversation light and simple. Second, never send out money. Catfishers sometimes do what they do so they can earn a quick buck. They may pretend to be sick or in some sort of other tough financial situation to get you to cave. Once you send them money, they may disappear, or worse, keep up the charade to see just how much they can get out of you. Another thing you should watch out for when communicating with people online is sending any sexually explicit photos, videos, or messages. Unless you completely trust and personally know the person you are sending them to, doing so is not recommended. Sexual predators sometimes use catfishing to collect sexually explicit media of their target, which they could later on sell or use as a form of blackmail. When the coronavirus pandemic hit the world, there was a notable rise in online sex crimes. An example of these sex crimes is an anonymous Twitter user from the Philippines who released teasers of sexually explicit videos and photos of random boys, which were all collected by catfishers using free online video call platforms. The catfishers would pretend they were attractive women and ask the men to video or photograph themselves naked. These videos and photos could then be viewed in full if an interested party deposited certain amounts of cash into the user's bank account. Twitter is currently trying to take measures against the rise of sexual crimes using their social media platform by banning the accounts, but some of the users are currently still at large, making new accounts to make up for their banned ones. Pedophiles are also notorious for being catfishers. They would pretend that they are younger in age and would use their online persona to lure children into meeting up with them. An example of this is the infamous murder of Carly Ryan in 2007. Carly Ryan, a 15-year-old South Australian schoolgirl, was befriended and murdered by a serial pedophile. While on the social media platform MySpace, Carly had connected with Brandon Kane, an American teen who had moved to Melbourne. The two became friends and eventually they started a romantic relationship. However, Brendan Kane was actually Gary Newman, a middle-aged man. Newman traveled to Carly Ryan's neighborhood and introduced himself as Brandon's father, and was invited into the Ryan's household as a trusted friend. However, he became increasingly possessive and inappropriate towards Carly, and as such was shunned by Carly's mother. However, this drove Newman off the rails. On February 19, 2007, Carly went missing. The next day, her body was found floating on Horseshoe Bay in Port Elliot. When police investigated the case, they found security footage of Ryan with two men. They were later discovered to be Newman and his adopted 17-year-old son. They searched Newman's property and discovered a notebook listing 200 different online personas and other evidence of Newman grooming children from various parts of the world. Newman was convicted of Ryan's murder and was sentenced to life imprisonment. After Newman's trial, Sonia Ryan, Carly's mother, set up the Carly Ryan Foundation, which aims to promote internet safety. In 2013, the foundation began lobbying for legal changes in order to better protect Australia's minors from predators on the internet. Another twisted catfishing story is the story of Marissa Williams. 19-year-old Marissa Williams lived with her aunt in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. When her aunt told her to stop inviting random men on Facebook to their home, Marissa blocked her on Facebook and began to shut herself in her room. To get into Marissa's mind, her aunt created a fake account and named herself Trey Ellis to try to speak with Marissa. The plan worked when Marissa accepted Trey's friend request and began opening up to him. However, it quickly went south when Marissa began asking Trey to come and pretend to kidnap her to take her away from her aunt. Marissa also allegedly instructed Trey to break into their home and kill her aunt, her uncle, her cousin, and the family dog. Her aunt reported this to the police, and shortly after, Marissa was arrested and charged with solicitation of murder. All forms of social media platforms can be used for catfishing. Married 46-year-old Thomas Montgomery made himself a member of an online chat room, posing as an 18-year-old Marine sniper, in order to attract an 18-year-old high school senior, Tall Hot Blonde, who also happened to be a catfisher. When Thomas Montgomery was caught by his wife, he decided to reveal who he really was to Tall Hot Blonde, who was horrified at his real identity. As a result, Tall Hot Blonde began making moves on Montgomery's 22-year-old co-worker, Brian Barrett. Montgomery was able to witness their romance bloom on the same chat rooms that he had used to get to know Tall Hot Blonde. Driven by jealousy, Montgomery murdered Barrett in their office parking lot. When police found out, their first move was to find Tall Hot Blonde and protect her. However, the police were in for a shock. They found out that Tall Hot Blonde was actually Mary Sheeler, who had been using her own daughter's photos and information to catfish people online. Montgomery pled guilty to the murder of Brian Barrett and was sentenced to 20 years. No criminal charges were pressed for Mary Sheeler. And there you have it, the hows and whys of catfishing. The internet is loaded with catfishers, and you would do well to protect yourself to prevent them from taking advantage of you. Currently, legal systems all over the world are trying to find ways to address cyber crimes, catfishing included. The internet could be such a fun place, but we must always be cautious when using it. Have you ever been catfished? Do you know stories of people who have? Let's talk about it in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to reply to every comment posted within the first hour. If you were intrigued by this video, why don't you go check out our other video on how money laundering works. You'll get to find out which country gets its money laundered the most. Stay tuned and stay educated.